So we're about to go see the I think it's called the Ruthwell Cross. Ruthwell Cross. And you've got to get a key from a house up here. Can you remember last time we had to get a key to go somewhere? Yeah. The woman was a nutter, absolute nutter. So hopefully this house people are much nicer, much normaler. And then we'll go inside and take a look at the finest example of an early Christian cross in the whole of Britain. Well, I'm excited.
Woohoo!
Who's the most beautiful cow in Scotland? Is it you? Or is it you or you? I think it's you. Right, so the door was locked, so I've just been for the key, which is in the bungalow just next door. Just a little box outside with the key on. It says church key. But that's something I love about these places, churches and things. They trust people. You know, anybody could come in here and cause a riot. Couldn't they?
They could. I don't think they would.
We'll give it a go. Just walked through the door. And I have to say, I'm quite disappointed in the size of it. In fact, now I'm getting closer, it's looking better because it goes way down here, look. So it is actually quite big. And the carvings on it are really, really cool. We'll go into them in more detail in a minute, but yeah, they reckon this is the best example of an early Christian cross in Britain and one of the best in Europe. So it dates from the 7th or 8th century, so it is a very old for Christianity. And they reckon it used to stand on the Solway shore. It was on the beach, basically. You know, near where we stayed last night. Yeah. It stayed there, near the quicksandy area. Oh. And that's where it was originally, they reckon. And then it was brought to this church. And it stood in this church, I think. And then during the Reformation, the baddies came over and they just tried to destroy it. But the man who was the priest at the time, he says, I'll do it myself, and he did it, but he didn't do it properly, you know what I mean? He didn't really want to destroy it, but he had to, because they'd have killed him if he didn't. So he sort of partially destroyed it, and it was thrown outside in the car park, and it stayed there for 180 years, just in bits on floor. And then in 1823, someone came along and saw all these bits on floor. He loved things like jigsaws and puzzles. And he came into the priest and says, would you mind if I had a go at that outside? I reckon I could rebuild that. He says, yeah, go for it. He says, you know, I just love puzzles. I love doing puzzles. He says, yeah, no problem. So he rebuilt it. And it looked fantastic, pretty much as you see it now. And then, a few years later, 50, 60, 70 years, 60 years later, the cross was moved inside the church itself. And as you can see, they had to dig down to fit it in underneath the roof. It stands quite tall. I don't know how tall it is, do you?
No. Let me find out.
It's about 18 foot tall. So looking at the carvings, you've got a big mixture of carvings on here. You've got New Testament scenes, runic characters, the St John the Evangelist, the St John and the eagle, the archer, something to do with Mary and Elizabeth, the washing of Christ's feet. Why would you put that on an important statue, washing some geezer's feet? It's on there somewhere. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there he is. There's Jesus. Singing Potter would love this. And somebody washing his feet down there, look, with very big long fingers. You've also got the Lamb of God with John the Baptist. Christ standing on two animals' heads. You know, what kind of man is this Christ?
This side now you're talking about.
He's standing on two animals' heads?
Yeah, that's the lamb one.
Oh, that's the lamb one. This is Christ standing on two animals' heads. They look like dolphins or whales to me. Can you see that? Oh, rats. Oh, I don't know. It could be anything. Could be anything. Paul and Anthony. That'll be them. And the flight of Egypt, whatever that's all about. So I'm going to bore you now, but there is runic symbols on there. I don't know if you can see them. runic symbols, and they weren't sure what them symbols meant for a long, long time. And then some dude came along in 1840 and he says, I reckon that's from an early poem, you know, an English poem called The Holy Rood, A Dream. So I'll read you a bit of what he's translated it to, and this is what they reckon it means, okay? Please don't get bored. I'll try and sing it if you like. I'll try and make it interesting, okay? God Almighty stripped himself when he wished to climb the cross. All before all men, to bow I dared you not. But had to stand firm, I held the great king. Can you just hold that for me? Men mocked us both together, I was slick with blood. Sprung from the man's side, Christ was on the cross, but then quick ones came from afar, nobles altogether, I beheld it all. I was hard hit with grief, I bowed to warriors' heads. Wounded with spears, they laid him limb weary at the body's head. They stood there, they looked to heaven's Lord. It finishes a bit oddly, doesn't it? It feels like it needs a few beats to take the song down. But yeah, that's how it goes, that's what that means. I could have thought of something better to put on there myself, but there you go.
How high did you say it was?
How high did I say it was? Well, I don't know because it doesn't say in my note, but my guess would be 18 to 20 foot tall.
Well, that is 18 feet, 5.5 metres high.
18 feet?
Yeah.
All right then.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you. I'm good with measurements. I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all. Do you know I said that it were in bits and the jigsaw geezer came along and built it? It didn't do it all because some of the pieces were missing. Either that or it was just rubbish, he couldn't do the puzzle properly. You see the top there, the bits what go across, that's not original. It's not real, Mazzy. That top bit. You can see how it's been redone. It's not real, isn't that bit? And I know that because down here, it says this is the only surviving fragment of the original cross being gutted. Mazzy just said the church itself is boring.
It's one of the most boringest ones we've been in.
It's quite modern looking, isn't it, and a bit drab. There's nothing exciting in it, apart from, you know, one of the best Christian crosses of all time. But there is something over here which some little bird told me about. This is a very, very old font. And we do like old fonts. How old is it? 1930. Oh no, that's the bowl. The bowl's 1930. The font itself, I believe, is something like 12th century, 13th century, something like that. So that's it for the Ruthwell Cross in Ruthwell Church. Get yourself along if you want to see it. It is pretty cool. I've seen something very similar before which actually looked a lot bigger than that, but it obviously wasn't as important as that because that is really old in Christianity. How many marks out of 10 would you like to give it, Mazzy? Any?
8.
8?
Yeah, it's nice.
Okay, yeah, I'll give it a 7.
7, wow, you were so excited to come and see it.
This was the one place I really wanted to see in Dumfriesshire. But the downside to it is the church itself. If the church had some really cool historic background, I'd love it more. But at the end of the day, it's just a cross and a font. Right, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Love you all.
Love y'all.
Bye-bye.